Hello everyone, I am Kimberly Pungase, and for today's topic I will be discussing with you Chapter 4, Lesson 3, entitled Skinner's Operant Conditioning. At the end of the lesson, students will be able to define operant conditioning, define reinforcement, and differentiate positive and negative. Know the schedule for reinforcement, define punishment, and differentiate positive and negative punishment, and also know the alternatives to punishment. So, Skinner's operant conditioning was postulated by Burgos Frederick Skinner. The theory of Skinner was based on his experiment, which concluded that learning is a function of change in behavior. Operant conditioning, according to him, is a type of learning whereby learning occurs as a consequence of the learner's behavior. We can use this theory in a classroom setup. So, as future educators, we should use the appropriate techniques and methods of teaching to make our students learn in an engaging way. So here, influenced by the students' work or achievement, teachers will reward students by giving them immediate praise, feedback, and encouragement. This is because if the students' work is valued and appreciated, they may be more likely to repeat the same behavior they did, eventually leading them to be better at school. Then reinforcement follows, which strengthens the performed behavior that will later teach students new skills and help them boost their morale. So reinforcement is categorized into two types, positive and negative. So positive reinforcement refers to the introduction of a desirable stimulus after a behavior. The desirable stimulus reinforces the behavior, making it more likely that the behavior will reoccur. While the goal of negative reinforcement is to prevent or eliminate a negative outcome or stimulus. It takes something from a situation that subsequently increases the occurrence of the responses to remove the unpleasant consequences. So here are some examples of the two types of reinforcement. If the student fulfills his schoolworks or projects and submits them on time, the teacher will show appreciation to his student by means of rewards and praise. This setup will eventually lead a student to repeat the same behavior because he knows he will benefit and be rewarded for what he does. In negative reinforcement, the teacher will give students freedom to escape extra classes if they perform well on exams. This act of compromising will eventually lead students to be more attentive towards their studies and do well on exams. If they fail, they won't have the chance to spend their extra classes outside. Here is the schedule for reinforcement: continuous schedule, intermittent schedule, ratio schedule, and a continuous schedule. Students receive feedback after each response concerning the accuracy of their work. In the intermittent schedule, students are not called on every time they raise their hands. They were not always praised after solving a problem, and they were not always told they were acting appropriately. In the ratio schedule, the teacher gives praise to a student after reciting the correct answer. These schedules may affect the behavior of students both positively and negatively. So let's go on to punishment, which aims to weaken the response. However, it does not necessarily eliminate the behavior. When the threat of punishment is removed, the punished response may recur. So punishment aims to remove or eliminate and decrease negative behavior. By means of punishment, students will be able to reflect on their own actions. This punishment is also divided into two types, which are positive and negative. So positive punishment is the addition of an unpleasant stimulus to decrease the behavior. For instance, Max, a grade 6 pupil, had been neglecting his math assignment, while he completely hated washing the dishes. So to decrease such behavior by neglecting his assignment, his parents assigned him to wash the dishes after dinner. After some time, Max eventually became more diligent about completing his assignments in math. So the addition of something is positive and becomes punishment when it adds something that he hates the most. So assigning him to wash the dishes as the punishment for not making his assignment is a positive one, because Max would eventually try to answer his math assignments on time and not neglect them, because if he did, he would eventually wash the dishes again. So let's move to negative punishment. It is the removal of rewarding stimuli that decreases the behavior. So it is to take away something or an agreement between a teacher and a student. For example, James, a grade 3 pupil, is always loud in a group activity. His teacher calls his attention and warns him that he will not be able to participate in the subsequent fun activity if he continues to behave noisily. So here, joining the fun activity is the pleasant stimulus. However, withdrawing makes it negative, and so does the noisy behavior of the student. So not being able to join the fun activity is the student's punishment for being noisy in the classroom. Positive and negative punishment are both methods used by teachers to educate students about what they should do and what they should avoid. In order to strengthen their behavior, the teacher will add and take something as part of the punishment. Here are the alternatives to punishment. Change the discriminative stimuli. Move misbehaving student away from other misbehaving students. Allow unwanted behavior to continue. Have students who should be sitting to continue standing. Extinguish unwanted behavior. Ignore misbehavior so that it is not reinforced by teachers' attention. Condition and incompatible behavior. Reinforce learning progress, which occurs only when a student is not misbehaving. So experiences. The use of rewards and punishments in a classroom setting is very noticeable in everyday situations. Using prizes and rewards may increase students' participation, as they know that they can benefit from something or they can be rewarded for something they do. They may be more likely to repeat the same action again and again. Also, knowing the appropriate use of rewards and punishment in teaching may address the pedagogical requirement. Showing simple ways to reinforce students may somehow build an image of a supportive teacher, and reinforcing students with pleasant behavior like smiles, praises, and affectionate pats on the back. The teacher may be considered kind and caring if they consider the students. It is also important to ensure a well-organized class setup. Give immediate feedback on the students' pleasant or unpleasant behavior to help diminish their undesirable behavior. And be mindful that students learn differently. So always acknowledge their strengths and weaknesses. So as future educators, it is critical that we have this, or that we follow operant conditioning, which is very important for us in order to have effective teaching in the future. And I guess this would be the end of my discussion. Thank you for listening.